So whatever happened, man, in the past 10 years, people on I don't know what it is, but I kind of feel like social media has acted as a sort of filter that's moved people into two camps, left and right.
Yeah.
And what I think happened is it's not that the left and the right are actually politically left or politically right. Mm-hmm. Certainly a lot of people who used to be left now claim to be conservative, even though they're not. It's more so about free-thinking, liberty-minded individuals. And it just so happens that many conservatives now align with, like, you know, liberals. It's like I was saying, like Ben Shapiro and Dave Rubin fundamentally disagreeing. Like Ben Shapiro wouldn't even come to his, you know, wedding anniversary or whatever.
But they're not yelling at each other.
But they're friends.
Right.
And they disagree on like core life issues because that's what America used to kind of be.
Right.
I say kind of be because they were still crazy people.
True.
But now you've basically the left, as I see it, is a chaotic, destructive force with no goal other than it's just fire. Pure fire.
Yeah, it's like they've kind of lost track of what they were going for. But they're like,
No.
we've gone too far. We got to just keep going.
No, it's the remnants.
Okay.
Right?
Same thing, basically.
So I grew up in Chicago, lived in New York, always been pretty left. Like you were you big into Bernie Sanders back in 2016?
Yeah. I liked Bernie in 2016.
Would you say your friends were?
Half of them. I would say. I have a lot of Trump supporting friends too.
Yeah. Because you were in Arizona too, so probably a lot of conservatives.
Well, it doesn't matter what kind of thing you support. I'm not gonna like cut you out of my life if you like Trump.
But I'm saying,
if you like Hillary, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you're still a good person, then we can be friends.
So what ends up happening is you have regular people not super into politics.
Yeah.
And then you're faced with this current phenomenon where you've got some people who are like, I may disagree, but I'll sit down with you.
Right.
And other people who are like, screeching.
I'm not friends with the re people, the screechers.
And that's what the left has become.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Like, I mean, so I'm not going to throw any direct shit. I'm not going to call specific people out right now, but there are some independent commentators that produce on social media. And we did briefly talk about this the other day, and it's like their only argument is insults and derision. Okay. So it's like if Donald Trump does something, they'll say like, what a moron, idiot, things like that. You have the Donald Trump reply guys, right? You know those guys? Yeah. So Donald Trump tweets.
Just fame seekers, basically.
No, they're just it's perhaps it's Trump derangement syndrome.
I think it's a combo.
Yeah.
I'm sure they get traffic.
I think what it comes down to is the left is primarily emotionally unstable people. And the right, I'm doing air quotes because I don't mean politically left and politically right. I'm saying like the culture war factions. Yeah. The right is comprised of people who are much more emotionally stable. The reason I say that is because and it's not universal, it's not absolute, but you look at like the intellectual dark web types. Yeah. They tend to be leftist, right? So you're familiar with the intellectual dark web, Jordan Peterson, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what is Jordan? He's like a moderate, right? He's like fairly moderate, not really a conservative guy. But you look at the Weinstein brothers, you look at people like Joe Rogan, and you have very progressive individuals. Okay. But they're emotionally stable. They can have an argument, they can sit down. Yeah. And you end up with this large faction of politically homeless, I think. I think it's Bridget Fetisi calls it that. I don't know if she coined that phrase. But the politically homeless are people who are pretty much leftists, like liberal, left-leaning individuals, but are emotionally stable. Yeah. So they find themselves more in alignment with the right. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people on the left who will like point to a bunch of idiot right-wingers and be like, Tim's wrong. But the point is, I'm not talking about political.
Right. There's idiots everywhere.
Right. And you can
in all groups, on them. Whatever.
But when the highest profile individuals of the left are just totally lying. Yep. I mean, it's fair to point out there are some conservatives who pump out ridiculous nonsense too. Of course there are. Mm-hmm. But when I look to what the left has done politically, it's like conservatives and Trump supporters are making an argument for what Trump has done. And you get intellectual dark web types like Eric Weinstein saying, I completely disagree with this and Trump is not viable. And here he is sitting down talking about it. And you're like, here. Yeah. Like, thank you for expressing your opinion. Yeah. But you don't get that on whatever the other culture war faction is. You get things like, you should be banned, your show should be removed, you get cancel culture stuff.
Cancel culture, yep.
It's really amazing. There's a woman I know, and she tweeted the other day, the New York Times article that said, we think Joe Biden did it. We're going to own it and vote for him anyway. Yeah. and she tweeted something like my sentiment as well. I'm gonna vote for Biden even though I believe this woman, and she ended up getting ratioed super hard, right? And her response was, "I'm being attacked by bots."
Trolls?
No, bots.
Oh, it was bots. Oh, really?
No, she said, "I'm being attacked by bots."
Oh, she
she
said
wasn't.
trolls as well.
I
saw that tweet.
She was being targeted. She said Bernie bots and GOP people or whatever. And then she suggested that Twitter revoke API keys, in reference to like automation.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what they think. They're in this world where they can't fathom that they actually just are getting heat from people for saying something dumb.
None of these people are real. It must be bots.
Right.
They're disagreeing with me.
Yep. And there are bots,
That's not
man.
surprising.
There are bots.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They exist.
But this sentiment has been going on for years. Like, if you look, you know what's interesting? I think there's a really easy way to explain, like, a bit of evidence as to my perspective on this. Of course, I'm sure there's gonna be a bunch of lefty commentators who are gonna like hear this and be like, "Tim's insane if he thinks that's true." It's like, fine, you can believe what you want, but let me tell you something. Alex Jones got purged from every platform. Rachel Maddow got propped up, and her ratings are skyrocketing.
I mean,
her ratings are down.
Kind of crazy. Now, I'd never watched him before starting the show, but I've gathered some information, seen some stuff, and he's kind of kooky, but he's like funny actually.
Yeah, he's
at
out
the
there.
same time. It's like,
but listen,
who cares?
We can play a game of who said it, Rachel Maddow or Alex Jones.
Yeah.
One said that Jeffrey Epstein is running a kiddie trafficking island and he needs to be stopped. Another said Russia is going to shut off the electricity to your home potentially in the winter in Fargo. Think about what that means. Who said it?
Oh, I have no idea.
Rachel Maddow said that one. And that's the famous like insanity conspiracy line that she pushed.
What, that Russia's going to shut down Fargo's electricity?
Yep.
Where'd she get that information?
She's nuts. She's nuts. She did a segment where she was like,
but she's on the left, right?
Russia, yes.
Right.
And so when she went insane, propping up the most psychotic dude, MSNBC had a guy on arguing that Trump may very well be a Russian asset since the 1980s.
Oh my goodness.
What psychotic parallel universe these people live in. But what happens with MSNBC is they get pushed forward, propped up. If you listen to Fox News, what do they tell you? Oh, they'll tell you some conservative bias stuff.
I don't watch Fox.
They'll tell you conservative bias stuff, but they'll tell you the Russia conspiracy stuff is insane. And it was.
Aren't we finding out, like, the Russian stuff is all made up anyway?
Yep.
It's like, it's all a bunch of poop.
Well, Russia was trying to, meddle,
Okay.
but they spent like thousands of dollars and influenced hundreds of people. Like, it's ridiculously minor.
That's it?
And I believe
like thousands, not hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, just thousands.
I'm pretty sure it's thousands.
They're like, we spent like $8,000 just to see if we can make a difference.
Well, no, it's like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Okay.
But in terms of direct spend on like social media, it was nothing. And so I think the official assessment is that they had zero impact.
Yeah.
But what they like to say is that, Senate committee has found that Russia was trying to prop up Donald Trump, and then they come out in March. Russia is trying to prop up Bernie Sanders. Yeah, it's fake. It's like it's insanity.
Oh man.
So think about what ends up happening. You get Rachel Maddow spouting ridiculous conspiracy garbled trash.
Yeah.
A-okay. So what happens to these people who hear this all day? They live in this parallel paranoid delusional state.
I guess so.
And they have Trump derangement syndrome where even after it's been proven now multiple times that Trump didn't collude with Russia, they still believe it.
Yep.
Even like in January, Pelosi is like, it's Trump working with Putin. They're just nuts. So I think it comes down to like these social media companies and these media outlets are biased towards the left just because it's been the default for them.
Okay.
And so Trump has to be wrong no matter what. But if Trump is always wrong, that means when Trump is right, you were wrong.
That's good.
So
That's a good point.
So these people end up watching this stuff, believing insane conspiracy stuff, and then you end up with moderates and conservatives standing next to each other, scratching their heads, while the people on the left are smashing windows, starting fires, and screeching that Russia has taken over. And then when it's not Russia, it's Ukraine, and then when it's not Ukraine, it's China. And it's like at a certain point,
when are they going to realize?
But so here's my ultimate point: why I say that the left is emotionally unstable and the right. And I don't mean necessarily the political, I mean like the factions of the culture war. It's because after the Russia gate failed, after years, after Ukraine gate failed, after several months, and then they tried doing the China thing, which lasted a week, you'd think at a certain point they would learn. Yeah. But what's the definition of insanity that they like to say? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result?
Yeah.
It's not really the definition of insanity. It's just like some buzz phrase you hear on the internet.
All they're doing is just making themselves seem like fools to the general public. So the general public who thought they were Democrats are like, am I a Democrat? Do I actually align with this lefty thing that's happening? Because I thought I was a lefty for a long time. Like,
But you are.
I guess I would think that I am, but like hearing us talk about like over the past couple months, like about what they do, how they screech and how they do things, it's like I don't know if I associate with that kind of person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if there is no establishment, and I don't mean like the elite establishment, if there is no actual left
Right.
that you can communicate with, you'll never hear any arguments for their ideas. You know, the craziest thing I saw was Jacobin magazine.
I don't know what that is.
Socialist magazine.
Okay.
Jacobin is a reference to the French Revolution, the Jacobins.
Okay.
Socialists wrote an article that the Democrats and the media were actually the ones colluding with Russia by pushing Russian propaganda. And I'm sitting here thinking like, wow, when the socialists agree with the Trump supporters, whatever the left is in this country is like it's like a pile of, it's like all the little bits of crayon mashed into a ball and then like warmed up so it clusters together. It's like no real, it's just a massive random slime, forming in the corner. So it's like, since, you know what I think happened? I think the left was kind of playing the game with the Democrats. Like, I mean leftists, like far leftist socialists.
Yeah.
Because they wanted Bernie to win and they want to take over. Once they got ousted, they have no allegiance to the Democrats. So now they're like, yep, these people are nuts.
That makes sense.
Yeah, man. I feel bad for the people who watch Maddow. It's like, and to the same extent, I feel bad for the people who get entrenched in YouTube conspiracy stuff, be it Alex Jones or otherwise.
Bunch of Karens watching Maddow, getting angry
Yep.
at stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm serious.
And
Yeah.
then they go on Facebook and they're like, the orange man. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, listen, if you really think Joe Biden can win, like, you're not stable. You know, like, who are these people?
Yeah,
You know,
I agree with you.
You know what,
completely.
man? You take a look at those polls showing that the voters about Kavanaugh, 70% said Kavanaugh shouldn't be, but Biden, no, they flip-flop. These people, these high-profile individuals on Twitter who represent the resistance, it's like they're NPCs. Like, that's really the best way to explain it.
Yep.
They have no real opinions. They have no principles, no morals. They're just, it's like they're not, I'm not calling them bots in the sense that like they're fake people.
Yeah.
But they have no thoughts of their own. It's, you can predict, like I'd be willing to bet you could look at one of these resistance people and you could actually map out what their tweets will be over the next month. You're like, here's exactly what they're going to say. You could probably, like, a story breaks, right? And it'll be like, you know, Donald Trump sells, you know, weapons to Saudi Arabia. And you can write the tweet before they do and then tag them in it and then like wait for them to tweet it, because that's how predictable and insane these people are.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. There are conservatives who do the same thing. And that's like, you know, they're trying to rally a base. But I think there are a few people I know who are on the left who have built careers as like left-wing commentators.
Okay.
I feel like they're lying. I watch them tweet stuff and I'm like, you really don't believe that.
Yeah.
But you have no choice because your base is just these people.
So you know them personally, though?
Oh, yeah.
So you can you know that that's not
100%.
their real personality.
Yep. It's not so much about their personality. I know some people who,
well, their core, I guess.
Won't.
Yeah.
They'll put out complete BS.
Yep.
And then I'm like, you know this BS, right? And they'll go, huh. They won't change it.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Huh.
Wow.
Yep. And it's because if they say it, they'll lose subscribers. They'll lose money.
Yep.
They don't care. They
their
really
core
don't care.
audience agrees with them.
There's no principles there.
Yep.
It's like the goal is to just get traffic, make money. And it's funny that they accuse me of the same thing. And it's like, man, I'd love nothing more than just like live in the van down by the river. You know what I mean? Go skateboarding every day, not have to be worried about this. I'll talk about whatever I want. But when you combine, when you, I think that's actually what's holding, like, whatever the left is, that we call it the colloquial left, whatever it is being held together by these people who are pretending. So long as you have high-profile individuals on Twitter who want followers, they will say the most shocking and bombastic thing possible to maintain their status and stature, and they don't care about any of this stuff. You know what? I've talked about this before too, but you know, for those that haven't heard it, I'll tell you exactly how it happens. So early on, and this is like a semi-real world example. Somebody writes an article that says Donald Trump, you know, makes a comment and it's called racist. It's an article. They write it. They publish it. It gets 1 million views.
Okay.
So then their boss is like, whoa, you got 1 million views on that one. See what else you can find. The next day they write, Donald Trump makes another racist comment. Gets another 1 million views. The next day they write, Donald Trump is racist. Another 1 million views. The next day they write, Donald Trump is the worst racist. Donald Trump is the most racist we've ever seen. Donald Trump is running for president, and he will be a white supremacist president. And then finally, Trump is almost as bad as Hitler. Trump is literally Hitler. Trump is worse than Hitler. And the reason is every day they have to one up what they said yesterday.
Yep.
Because if they just write the same article over and over again, people don't click.
It's like a drug.
Yep. Yeah, people get they adapt to it, and they slowly start. They build up a tolerance. So, I mean, that's just really what's happening. It happens to a lot of people, and if people aren't willing to accept that they're advocating for a broken system, a failed politician, Joe Biden, not going to work.
Unless they want the chaos vote, like you said yesterday.
Yeah, but I don't think so.
Some people want to watch the world burn, right?
I think anybody who's actually paying attention, has either left the left, because how come there's no walk away from the Republican Party campaign?
That's true.
You know the walk away campaign?
Yeah, of course.
Where's the Republican one? Where's the walk away from Trump? It's interesting. It's like
people who like Trump still love Trump, and they love him more every day, probably.
Even people who don't like Trump are going to Trump. You said you were going to vote for Trump.
Yep,
you're not. You're not a MAGA hat wearing. You're a skateboarding vegan hippie bro.
It's true. I will not vote for Biden.
Joe Rogan said it.
You made a good point yesterday. He upped the economy. Like Obama's like, you can't do it, and then he did it. He brought the numbers up crazy. So the economy did really well under his administration. Yep. So now we have this pandemic. So are we going to trust some random person we don't know? I mean, if the Democrats do choose someone new that we don't even know who it is, it's like I highly suspect that's going to happen. It's like
Cuomo.
No, I don't know what Cuomo's. I don't know anything about this dude. As far as what he does business wise. I mean, Trump has shown that he can bolster our economy.
The best economy we've had in a generation.
We need that, especially now that it's been shut down for so long.
Yep. Yeah. Bingo. Yep. Right there.
Exactly.
There's almost so in terms of talking about like who you would vote for, you've got foreign policy issues, healthcare issues.
Yep.
But for most Americans, it's the economy, right? That's the saying, it's the economy, stupid.
Yep.
Well, Donald Trump's proven that he made an amazing economy for 3 years. Now that the economy, so this is actually in the polling that I was just reading earlier today. Americans don't blame Trump for the pandemic and the economic crisis.
Okay.
And if that's the case, wouldn't they assume he's the best choice to fix it because of what he did in the first 3 years of his first term?
Yeah. And there's been so much, so many different articles that I've seen where they're trying to blame him. Every chance they get, they want to pin this on Trump, and it's like, how?
Endlessly.
How can they do that? It doesn't make any sense. I read the articles. Some people send them my way, and I'm just like reading it. I'm like, this doesn't even make any sense.
So here's what happens: if Trump is wrong, every so often on certain issues, then the media is inverted, and that means they're wrong on most issues.
Right.
If Trump was right about economics, and he was like, let's say he was right 80% of the time. That means the Democrats and the media were wrong 80% of the time. And that's kind of what's happening.
Basically, yeah.
So, but yeah, to go back to the point I was making about like you saying you'd vote for Trump, right. Joe Rogan saying he'd rather vote for Trump.
Yep.
There have been people who have left the Republican Party, like Justin Amash, for instance. But there's, and the never Trumpers for sure.
Well, because he was going to lose his spot. Was he leaving, or was he just kind of a Hail Mary to keep some spotlight? I don't know.
I think he made a bad bet.
Yeah, okay.
I think what he saw, because he was a Republican, he saw like people don't like Trump, women don't like Trump, so he was scratching his beard, going like, he doesn't have a beard. I'm kidding, but he's thinking like, how do I win re-election? I got to leave the Republican Party. It did well for him, gained a bunch of followers, got high profile push, but that means when it comes time to actually run in his district again, he's not on the ticket.
Yeah, he lost the whole Republican base.
Yeah, so now people are going to walk in and they're going to go R. They're not going to rally for independent. So now he's trying to go like libertarian or whatever. So there have been some instances of people leaving the Republican Party for sure. They're on Twitter. You can see them. Trump-gret, they call it. But the movement, the high-profile walk away, you hear so much more often.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
It's because even the people who don't want to vote for Trump, like I mentioned, the intellectual dark web people, they're not voting for Biden. They're not going to pretend they vote for Biden. And even the progressives are not going to vote for Biden. So what is it?
Yeah, and who are they
Who
polling?
are these people?
Where's these polls proving that Biden's ahead of Trump? It's like
Well-
they're just sitting in a room like, well, what do you think? Yeah, Biden, everyone Biden? All right, yep, well, I guess he's ahead of the polls.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify, and we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.